Today we're going to discuss the potential risks of working at heights and specifically focus on fall protection equipment used in leading edge applications. We're also going to answer the questions that we're getting on leading edge versus sharp edge. So leading edge and sharp edge, really what it means is it has to meet ANSI Z359.14, but there's two issues in this leading edge and sharp edge compliant issue, one of which is leading edge, or what some people call foot level tie-off. And basically what foot level tie-off is that you're meeting OSHA's variance on falling further than 6 feet and getting the forces of the worker to less than 1,800 pounds. And it allows the worker to be tied off at their feet as long as they're not on a sharp edge. And the question becomes, what is sharp edge? That's a typically metal or concrete edge, and the edge is smaller than the radius of a pencil, or greater than and equal to 0.005 of an inch. What are we doing at DBI Sala, 3M DBI Sala? We are building a logo to put on the housing and on the shock absorber to tell you that our products are both leading edge and sharp edge. And that's what the symbol looks like. Here's a video showing you why this is such a huge issue. Leading edge, sharp edge is a very real issue facing workers today. Potential for cuts due to sharp edges is everywhere on SRLs and lanyards. Here's why. Just take a look at the ANSI video and you'll see how easily this lanyard cuts. It goes over a sharp edge, which is ANSI's definition, and it just cuts. Here's an SRL cable and it just slices like a knife in butter. So why does it cut so easily? Very simply, the way this cuts so easily is it changes when you go over an edge, changes where your anchor point is. Your anchor point then becomes right where the sharp edge is, which greatly reduces the effectiveness of the shock absorber in the SRL and causes that cable to cut. So the key difference between a leading edge sharp edge and a non-leading edge sharp edge SRL is that you added an additional shock back, and then it's got to be cable. On the bigger size SRLs, that's got to be 7/30 seconds because you could have a further setback and an angle which could cause the cable to rub. So that's why we use 7/30 seconds. And on a personal SRL, because it's shorter setback, you can use a 3/16 cable. And again, they also have an additional shock pack. So we've tried to make these ridiculously simple, and here's how we're going to make this simple. We're using this orange triangle symbol on the housing and the external shock pack. And that way you'll know every time that it's leading edge and sharp edge. So when you add an additional shock pack to an existing SRL, it does not make it leading edge and sharp edge approved. All it's going to do is get you below 1,800 pounds and a foot level tie off. It will not keep it from cutting. So 3M, DBI Sala, and Protecta leading edge, sharp edge SRLs will be designated with an orange triangle and an orange shock pack symbol on the housing as well. And that's what it looks like right there. So it'll be on the housing and on the shock pack. And you can see on a bigger SRL, on the housing and on the shock pack. So we already have that now on Smart Lock SRLs and on leading edge nanos. The Ultra Lock and the Protecta are both leading edge and sharp edge. They just don't have these symbols yet. They have been ordered and they will be on these devices within a few short months. Adding a shock pack to a standard SRL is not allowed to be leading edge and sharp edge. Adding a shock pack to an existing SRL will only make it leading edge. It will possibly still cut. So it's really important when you're thinking about this issue to understand the fall clearance. And many people, since they've been around in fall protection a while, don't really even know the difference that on a lanyard and an SRL, your clearance or not hitting the ground is calculated differently. On a lanyard, it's calculated from the anchor point. And it's basically 17.5 foot from your anchor point unless you tie off at your feet. Then you have to use the number 18.5 feet. You have to add 1 foot. On an SRL, clearance is calculated from the working level or where you're standing. And basically, you take your tie off point and that number right there at the tie-off point will tell you 8 feet, that's how much clearance I need from my working level. So what's crucial here is understanding from an SRL, the number is based on your working level and your tie-off point, whereas on your lanyard, it's calculated from your anchor point of 17.5 feet, unless again you tie off at foot level. Be careful though, when you're over 310 and less than 420, you cannot tie off at foot level. And you can see that in the dotted area of the diagram. You can only tie off up to here. Tying off while sitting down on the working level will be acceptable. And of course, when you're between 310 or 311 to 420, here are your clearances, and always check the clearance chart on the manual of the SRL that you're working with. So here's how you calculate leading edge clearance for SRLs. On personal SRLs, you use the chart like I just showed you earlier. And again, for over 310, between 310 and 420, use this chart. For up to 310, you use this chart. And there also is a setback distance chart on our SRLs. You can decrease your clearance by using a further setback. Also, users weighing under 220 can have less fall clearance by using this chart in red. The SmartLock Leading Edge SRL is the new technology that allows us to reduce nuisance lockups by 29%. We have 20 footers and 30 footers in leading edge available today. There's 3 things you need to calculate on our clearance chart: your setback distance, your distance away from center, and your clearance required. So distance away from the center is if I went straight out to the wall here and 5 feet over to the side, my distance away from center or distance to perpendicular would be 5 feet. So I'd use a 10-foot setback, 5 feet away from center would give me 16.2 feet of clearance. And one of the other things to know is very important to know that a setback, if the further you set back, if you increase your setback distance, you can decrease your fall clearance based on these charts. The further you go out, the less your clearance is. And that's the same on our protective leading edge SRLs. As you go further back on your setback, you can decrease your fall distance. Again, you have your setback distance, your distance away from center, and your clearance required. Lastly, we do have leading edge and sharp edge lanyards. And your fall clearance, again, is calculated from your anchor point. If your anchor point's up here, it's 17.5 feet. But at foot level, tie off, and for workers over 311 pounds, or over 310, you add 1 foot to the total fall distance. So instead of 17.5, it would be 18.5 feet. Thank you for your time.